Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone's doing well. I really have to get that 4-minute footage of the United Kingdom that I did across Westminster Bridge up there. But obviously with life going on and all manners of other shit in this world, it's been hard to keep my mind focused on things, to be brutally honest. Because honestly, with all the shit that's going on right now, especially regarding Charlie Kirk and the United Kingdom movement, it is very easy to end up in a situation where you want to throw up, or you just don't want to know. And I won't blame anybody if they're suffering from any degree of burnout over all this shit, because I can tell you one thing, I felt burnt out before this shit was happening. I mean, honestly, I really do just want to throw up because of all the sick shit that is on the internet right now, including in one of the communities of one of the games I played. I can't say it's my favourite, but it's just, this community is filled with such degeneracy, but I'd rather not get you involved in that. But what sickens me most, more than anything, is now how Keir the traitor Starmer is trying to spin the yarn that apparently the UTK movement was apparently causing people to be afraid based off of the colour of their skin. I mean, this man is either doing one of two things. He's either gaslighting or he is libelously slandering the people, or maybe he's doing both at the same time. But anybody who has been to that protest, including myself, can easily debunk that shit by simply saying, why did Tommy Robinson invite a black Christian choir on stage? That's the thing. The lefties, they don't think. They don't use that thing inside here. They don't think with it. They think with the one between their legs. Because if Keir the traitor Starmer actually engaged his brain for a fraction of a second, he would have realised that Tommy is not inherently racist. In fact, anybody who has first started following Tommy Robinson back in ye oldie days, when I were a lad, no, not that far back, but you know what I mean. Anybody who's followed Tommy Robinson will know full well that he is the least racist man who leads this movement. When he became a member of the BNP, he wanted to invite some of his black mates into this meeting with, what's his face, Nick Griffin. But Nick Griffin outright refused. So Tommy left that party. When will we ever hear the mainstream media talk about that? Because I guarantee you, if you mention that fact in front of anyone, you could destroy all the mainstream media and the lefty NPC's arguing points. Just like that. And that's just one point. What about all the Muslim friends that Tommy Robinson has? Surely, if Tommy Robinson was such a racist, he wouldn't be hanging out with his Muslim friends or his black friends, or he wouldn't have left the BNP if he basically was a racist, would he? You see, anybody with even a single brain cell in his head, and I'm quite privileged to have two. Anyway, anybody with a single brain cell in their head could easily dismantle any arguing point from the oligarchy that Tommy's a racist. At every frigging rally I've went to, if I was truly a racist far-right individual, surely I'd be shouting things to the effect of, oh, get those black people off the stage. Surely I'd be saying that kind of thing, right? But here's the thing. I've not once said that. I've not once said even anything that is disparaging to anybody based off of their characteristics. Never. I may have said stuff regarding basically how people have acted, like Keir the traitor Starmer, how I consider him a traitor because of the fact he's going against his people, but at no point have I ever used somebody's characteristics that people can't help to disparage people, such as the colour of their skin, what sex they are, what age they are, what country they come from, just to name a few. So I think Keir the traitor Starmer should apologise to every single patriot that went to that Unite the Kingdom rally. And he should personally apologise to Tommy Robinson, but I suspect there's as much chance of that happening as there is chances of me going to the moon in a rocket. Come on, Keir the traitor Starmer. Show us there is a pair of balls between your legs and not the makings of a fairy cave. Because right now, you're a certain demographics bitch, the way I look at it. You haven't got a pair of balls, have you? That's why you've been trying to hide it so much. Margaret Thatcher has bigger balls than you, and she's currently 6 feet under. People like Tommy Robinson have more courage in their fucking fingernails than you even have in your entire body, Keir the traitor Starmer. He knows who the enemies are. He knows who the enemy at the door is. He knows what the biggest threat is right now, while you're more worried about parroting narratives like the far right and how we will have change and all the other bollocks. The only change you have is the fucking stuff in your back pocket. And when you put that change together, it comes up to a grand total of fuck all. And then we come to the main subject. The fact that this traitorous sectarian bastard and his Islamic mistress, known as Shabana Mahmood, are now pushing hard for digital IDs. Oh, nothing could possibly go wrong with digital ID, could it? Nothing could go wrong at all if you just throw your passport into the sea, have loads of invaders come over the channel, and then you suddenly give them digital IDs. Nothing could go wrong with that at all. And that's just one scenario. Then there's also the fact that because you now have a digital ID, everyone's basically going to be on a database, and the government can see everything that you're doing. And when you combine that with the Online Safety Act, well, I say Safety Act in name only, it makes for a very, very dystopian, basically United Kingdom-esque Russia. Like, the only thing that would be different, between us and Russia at that point would be the name of the fucking country, quite frankly. But of course the mainstream media won't tell you this. You know the drill, folks, because say it with me. It doesn't suit the narrative. I mean, aside from the Online Safety Act, these IDs would be the biggest invasion of privacy that this country will ever have seen. All they would need to do, because they now have your digital ID or your digital fingerprint, if you will, is basically look you up on a monitor, see what you've done, see what your pass is, and they can basically make all the decisions from there. Who said they need 50 for Matty? Shut up, you. I'm not that bad. Fucking hell. But that's really what it comes down to. When they mention the so-called Online Safety Act, what they effectively mean is they want to spy on each and every one of us. They use the guise of children and try to stop adult-themed stuff. They use that as a cover. They're using that just like they're using the current battle going on between Russia and Ukraine to cover up the fact that they are preparing for civil blank. Yet the oligarchy thinks we're too stupid to realise that. And I would tell them, do not insult what little intelligence I have. You have intelligence? Shut it. Yes, I do have intelligence. What little I have. But even that little bit of intelligence still more than outclasses the likes of Shabana Mahmood and of course Keir the traitor Starmer. What we are seeing right now is a complete disintegration of our Christian society. We are seeing the erosion of Christian values, human rights and English culture, as well as of course the culture of Wales and Scotland. We are seeing Keir the traitor Starmer hit us right in the proverbials, almost, right in the proverbials, and effectively try and stop us from having any rights whatsoever. Meanwhile, he's more than content with allowing people who want to harm our women and children to run rampant and free. And the left-wing NPCs out there, who all have the collective IQ of a crushed watermelon, they're all advocating for these predators to run wild. Especially when you now consider the fact that 3 men have recently been arrested for sticking a pig's head outside of a mosque. Now, last time I checked, that's not vandalism. Now, if they threw it through one of the mosque windows, then yeah, that would be criminal damage and vandalism. But that's all they did. They placed the pig's head outside a mosque. Do you think they would arrest someone if they basically put death threat letters in front of a Christian church, or a Hindu place of worship, or a Jewish synagogue? Do you think they'd do that? I think we all know the answer to that, folks. And yet, whose feelings are we trying to protect? Those of a death cult who wish to destroy us. Those who wish to do us harm. Those who want a worldwide caliphate and Sharia law. Much like we're seeing turkeys celebrating Christmas, now we're seeing pigs celebrating a hog roast. And there are a lot of fucking pigs in the oligarchy, let me tell you. There's even more in that death cult as well. The ones usually coming from their third world shitholes. And of course, Islam is undoubtedly going to have their feelings hurt over someone like me. You know why? Because they're more sensitive than a pissing snowflake in heat. And I suspect they'll like that even less. But here's the thing about me, and you lot can say it with me. I'm not going to sugarcoat a motherfucking thing. I'm not going to mince my words. I'm going to say it exactly how it is, and I'll do my best not to bullshit you. It's why I've been saying categorically, I don't think we're reaching the next general election, even if there's now speculation that a general election could be called as early as May 26. Or may the ballot be with you. Anyway, I don't think that we're going to reach May 26 before this all boils over. I don't think for 1 second that we're going to be able to last the 8 months, I believe, to get to that stage. 7 or 8 months, something like that. I don't think we're going to make it that far. I think the people will have lost their shit before that point, quite frankly. I think the people will finally decide enough's enough. And it's ironic how the left and even the likes of Keir the traitor Starmer are still using that vile, abhorrent rhetoric of basically glorifying the death of Charlie Kirk. It's ironic how they like to call us NZs, what some of our founding fathers and forefathers fought, so cunts like this could have their freedom of speech. It's funny how they're calling us that, but they're not willing to take any accountability for their own actions. And I will say this much, there have been some lefties that have fucked around and found out, who celebrated and glorified the death of Charlie Kirk, who have quite rightly lost their jobs. And I only have a one-word response to any leftoid that starts having a mental breakdown or a meltdown on stream and starts saying, I lost my fucking job. Good. I'm not one for advocating cancel culture. But you know what I am a fan of? Actions meeting consequences. And he's a good friend of mine, let me tell you. That's why I know full well that as long as I stay on the right side of the law, I'll never be punished for all the shit that I'm saying, which may be harsh, it may be cruel to the left-wing NPCs, but I don't give a damn, because it's all fucking legal here. You could say I'm being a bit of an arsehole for effectively celebrating the fact that lefties have fucked around and found out. That's probably the only thing you could say against me on that. Honestly, I couldn't care less. Because here's the thing. If I went out of my way, and let's say Kamala Faker than Hollywood Teeth Harris died the next day, do you think I'd be glorifying her death? No. As much as I don't like her, hell, if Keir the traitor Starmer ended up dying the next day, do you think I'd be celebrating his death? I hate his fucking guts, let me tell you, but I'll never celebrate his death. I will effectively say, well, I wish him peace in the afterlife. I don't need to be an arsehole to people. I don't need to be a dick to anyone who can't defend themselves. In the end, there is only one judge who will judge us all, and it's a man or woman upstairs, if you catch my meaning. The left were glorifying the death and the violence that occurred of Charlie Kirk. They glorified the attempt at Trump's life, and some of them paid the price for it. Like I said, they fucked around, they found out. Because it is, believe it or not, an indiscriminatory rule. It doesn't discriminate against the left, it doesn't discriminate against the right. And there's something that you lot can never ever incite, and that is violence against your fellow man or woman. It doesn't matter if they're against or whether they are for. If you break those rules, you're heading for the door. So it stands to reason, if I started celebrating the death of Keir the traitor Starmer, I would expect my company to give me the boot out of my fucking job. I do wish Keir the traitor Starmer would resign. I would advocate for him to resign, but I'm never going to advocate for anything else, because in the end, it's against the law to wish harm on a man or woman. But what is ironic in this whole situation is Keir the traitor Starmer doesn't understand how much of an army he is raising against him. Every single day that goes by that they're trying to push through these digital IDs, that they continually slander ordinary men and women and children at these protests, at these rallies, whatever you want to call them, every single time that they do that, they're raising more and more people against them. They're raising more and more people who will stand up to maggots like him. And what's going to happen is eventually there will be people who are not effectively the peaceful kind, who may be on our side of the fence, as it were, who finally decide enough's enough, and then we start seeing anarchy on the streets. And when that happens, they won't be able to blame the so-called far right. They won't be able to blame the Patriots. They won't be able to blame the Tories. The only people they'll have to blame is themselves for effectively pushing us to it. Because eventually they're going to desensitize the meaning of every single word that they use, like NZ, fascist, thug, and all that stuff. They're going to desensitize it so much that people are just going to be like, fuck it, let's do it. And when it does happen, I'll be sitting there in the background saying, I did warn you. And just remember, Tony the War Criminal Blair was the one who was pushing for these IDs, for these ID cards. Now he's pushing the digital ID. These people are going to stop at nothing to achieve the dystopian oligarchy and regime that they want. There is an evil in the Labour Party that is so significant, so substantial, and the hatred is so incandescent against the people. It makes Michael Myers from the Halloween series look like a friendly guy. Thank you. There will come a time where there will be righteous fury rain down on this country. And I'll be clear, as I've always done, I don't advocate for violence. I don't advocate for people to go riot. I don't advocate for a violent revolution. But the cold, bitter truth is, leftoids, if you're listening, you're going to cause it to happen. You and your vile, disgusting, poisonous rhetoric are going to cause a civil war in this country. And when it happens, you can only blame yourselves for it, for all the incitement that you've been doing. And let me tell you something else, man. Actually, no, I shouldn't become Shane from The Walking Dead. Anyway, let me tell you something else. If you lefties keep going on like this, there is going to be a serious attack. There is going to end up being a serious act of violence that is purported from the right, from someone who has a lot less control. And they'll show you unimaginable horrors. Something that you would expect in a horror film. And when that happens, you'll wish that you'd never libeled us and slandered us as NZs or thugs. And unlike you lot, I won't be celebrating it. I won't be justifying it, and I won't be advocating for it. What I will be saying, however, is that it was only a matter of time before this thing happened. Because right now, that is now both of our enemies. Not just ours, not just the left's, it's both of our enemies. And as the old saying goes, you know not what you have until it's gone. So I'd think very carefully before you start calling us those names again, lefties. I'd think even more carefully about inciting violence against us. Disclaimer, airsoft gun coming up shortly. But I'm going to say this. The wheel of karma is called the wheel for a reason. It's not just a matter of it's called karma for a reason. There is a reason it's round. And that's because it always comes full circle. Yes, I know, full circle. Shut it. But my point is, if you go wishing for violence against other people, don't be surprised if that goes full circle and comes back to you. You were sitting there glorifying Charlie Kirk's death when a sniper came along and picked him off. How long do you think it's going to be before that happens to one of your people? I'm not advocating for it. I'm just saying. If somebody does that to you, you look on our side to see if you see anywhere near as many left-wing NPCs glorifying that person's death. Because that's all it takes right now. All it takes is for someone in America, or perish the thought here in the UK, to grab a gun, lock and load, and what happens if someone decides to pull that trigger on a lefty? Okay. I didn't actually realise there was still a BB in there. Shit. That took me by surprise. But anyway, the point is, what happens when someone does that? What happens when somebody comes along and does the exact same thing to one of your favoured politicians or free speech activists? Well, no, let's face it, there aren't going to be free speech activists amongst you lot. But when somebody comes along for your people, tell me, do you think you're going to be pleased when that happens? Do you think the right wing are going to glorify that? You might have a few moronic fools that do that, but I'd like to think the vast majority of us are going to be quite civil about it and say, nobody deserves it. Nobody here will advocate for it. We are sorry for your loss. And we are sorry that this has happened. Because unlike you lefties, we have something in here called a heart. We also have something above it called a moral compass that I'd like to think guides us to where we want to be. And yes, mine does sometimes go a little skew-whiff or even starts whirling around like we're in a fucking hurricane. But you know what? Always point straight in the end. I must admit, I spent a little moment just trying to check if I've done anything. Anyway, what it boils down to is there is civil war coming. That's the cold, bitter truth. And the left will sit here and glorify the violence and the unjust arrests in a two-tier policing society. Meanwhile, Keir the traitor Starmer is sitting there with his Islamic mistress, Shabana Mahmood, basically trying to push through the digital ID cards. And I'll ask you this, lefties. Do you honestly think you won't get affected by this either? Do you honestly think that you're not going to get hit by this? Do you honestly think this is a right-wing exclusive? No, it's not. It is far from that. This is something aimed at everyone. It is like rather than pointing a pistol at someone and pulling the trigger. It is someone taking a fuck off great big belt-fed machine gun and is spraying everyone. That's effectively what it is. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention, because I'll need to remind some people before I forget, two-tone guns, so blue here, tan here. Two-tone guns do not require a UCARA license, which is basically the license that allows you to hold real-life imitation firearms. So if anybody's thinking of sending me to prison just because I own one of these airsoft guns, you're wasting your fucking time. And if you don't believe me, let me just pull out the BB from here that I'm actually surprised landed inside my porridge of all things. That was the BB I accidentally didn't realise was still in this fucking thing. But I can completely assure you, this thing is empty. Unless somehow they've managed to find a way to sneak one of these things in the top while I wasn't looking. But the bottom line's this. You lefties are going to regret inciting violence against us. You are going to regret shafting yourselves while trying to shaft us. You are going to regret allowing Keir the traitor Starmer to run rampant in the United Kingdom. You might sit here and think Tommy Robinson's a racist, thug and far-right football hooligan, blah, blah, blah. But here's the thing, as I said before, and I'll say it here again. We can easily debunk most of your argument points, just like that. Black Christian choir on stage. Martuzi on stage, who came, I believe, from Iran. He's had Muslims on stage. He's had Sikhs on stage. He's had black people on stage. He's had people from Asia on stage. He's had people young and old, and even myself in Salford, on stage at one point. He's had people from all walks of life on that fucking stage. Have any of you lefties even attempted to get more than one brand of skin colour on your stages? And here's the thing, even if you have, we've got far more of far various backgrounds than what you'll ever muster up. I mean, even if we were to go with Sly News' estimate of how many people turned up in London on Saturday, let's say there really was only 150,000 people over there. We still managed to muster up more courage, more ethnicities, more backgrounds than you ever would. And your 5,000 doesn't even come close to the numbers we got. That's 30 times more that we brought than you did. Bear in mind, the estimate was more along the lines of 3 million. The police were giving estimates that it was around 3 million. And if that is the case, you haven't just been outnumbered 30 to 1 or 300 to 1. It'll be more like 1,800 to 1 or 18,000 even. That's the thing. We far outnumber you. We have far more wit. We have far more intelligence. We have far more fight than you soy boys and soy girls could ever muster up in your pride parades. We have the numbers, we have the strength, we have the intelligence, and we have the balls, whether up here or down there, or in my case, both, to actually stand up to scum like you. We have got the pride behind us, the real pride. You know what pride I'm talking about? I'm talking about this fucking flag right here, and I can't even find the side, god damn it. There we go. That is what we have. This is our flag. It is not a symbol of racism. It is not a symbol of white supremacy. It is not a symbol of the far right.
This is our country's flag. And I'll tell you now, to finish this off, if you don't like our flag, or perish the thought you don't even like the Welsh flag or the Scottish flag, I'll tell you one thing, there's millions of us who would love to help you pack.